I've had a lot of time to think about everything that happened since I last posted, and I've been listening to the feedback from everyone who commented. The general consensus seems to be that, while I wasn't necessarily the asshole for sleeping with my best friend's hall pass, I was definitely the asshole for how I handled it afterward. And I've come to agree. I didn't think about how Becky would feel hearing that I'd hooked up with Dave, her celebrity crush of 15 years, and I definitely didn't consider how it might hurt her to have it thrown in her face without any warning or thought. Becky didn't talk to me for weeks after I told her about my night with Dave. I felt terrible, but I also figured she'd get over it. After all, he was just a crush, a fantasy that was never going to be real. But then, things got even messier. Becky's husband found out why she wasn't speaking to me, and he was furious. He told Becky that it was one thing to have a hall pass for a guy she'd never meet, and another thing entirely to get mad when someone else got to use it. He said it felt like she was trying to call dibs on a fantasy and that her reaction was over the top, considering Dave isn't, and never would be, a real part of her life. But then he flipped it around and made her see it from another angle. What if Becky found out that her husband had a similar crush on some random woman and used it as an excuse to shut out a lifelong friend? He pointed out that while it's normal to have crushes, even silly hall passes, those feelings are meant to stay in the realm of imagination, not dictate real-life relationships and emotions. Becky admitted that he was right, and that while it hurt to hear about Dave, she was more upset about the way I'd blurted it out without considering her feelings. Today, Becky asked if we could meet up. She explained everything her husband had said and how it made her realize that her reaction wasn't entirely fair. She admitted that she was more hurt by the way I'd told her than by the hookup itself. She said it felt like I'd rubbed her face in it without giving her any space to process, and that made her feel small and embarrassed. I apologized again, this time understanding where I'd gone wrong. I didn't mean to hurt her, but I did, and I take responsibility for that. Then, in typical Becky fashion, she did a complete 180 and asked me to spill all the dirty details about Dave. What he smelled like, how he tasted, how big he was, and everything else I could think of. It was a weird moment, and I could tell she was trying to turn this awkward, painful situation into something she could laugh about and move on from. But I declined to answer. Not to be a jerk, but because I didn't want to keep stoking the fire of her crush and making things worse. I told her that I was actually seeing Dave again this weekend at another show he's playing, and we've got a date planned. He reached out to me directly through the magazine I work for, and we've been talking ever since. Becky tried to caution me, reminding me that Dave is a rock star with access to any woman he wants. She pointed out that he's never going to be monogamous and that I shouldn't get too attached because he's probably just having some fun. And she's right. I know exactly who Dave is and what he represents. I'm not looking for a relationship or anything serious. I'm not deluded about what's going on between us. But right now he's fun, he makes me laugh, and I enjoy spending time with him. After years of being single and feeling stuck, it feels good to be wanted, even if it's just for the moment. I never expected this situation to blow up the way it did. I thought it was just a funny, unexpected hookup, but it turned into something that tested my friendship in ways I hadn't anticipated. I've learned that just because someone's crush seems silly or unattainable doesn't mean those feelings aren't real. I should have been more considerate, more thoughtful, and less self-centered in how I handled it. I'm glad Becky and I are on speaking terms again, but I've definitely learned my lesson about respecting the boundaries of someone's fantasies, even if they're just that, fantasies. I don't know where things will go with Dave, and I'm not counting on it to be anything serious. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the ride and make sure that in the future, I'm more mindful of how my actions and words affect the people I care about. I'm grateful that Becky gave me the chance to explain and apologize, and that we're working through this as best we can. Here's hoping things settle down from here.